I know with the internet nowadays, not quite as fashionable or popular as they used to be. We're going to be talking about some of my favourite magazines, and can't believe how much money I used to spend on magazines sometimes. I think once the record was about £14, but just going to go through some of my favourites and some of the standout ones that have meant a lot to me over the years. And don't know if this one was ever released anywhere else, probably not, but it was the Blues collection. Brought loads of these over the years. Used to come with a CD or music recorded on a high quality cassette. And probably one of the most pretentious douchebag things I ever did was when the Robert Johnson one came out. I closed my bedroom curtains, listened to the CD, and was picturing what it'd be like listening to that in the 30s. I think it was red hot at the time, so it was like time travel or something. And this is not a very fashionable thing to say, but it reminds me of Hollywood Humpblick, Tom Green's friend, because I think he did the same thing. But I used to buy cat magazines. When I very first got one of my very first cats, I thought, oh, I'll have to try to look after him right, and I'll have to get some hints and tips. And so I got cat magazines. But one thing I don't know, it's changed a little bit now. But if you ever used to get anything to do with cats years ago, this is two things that they always say about cats: is they're quote unquote evil, or they're all girls. And there's a fun fact for you. And this is another one of my pretentious phases, which is still going to this day. I remember when I was a kid and used to get beat up at school, I thought that's the best way of learning martial arts, apart from going to learn martial arts, was and using this X block. So I got COMPAT magazine. This is an amazing issue with Jeff Speakman on the cover. I think when he said he'd signed a 5-picture deal with Paramount, when The Perfect Weapon went down the toilets, that started working with Canon. Fun fact, the last Canon film that was released was Street Night, starring Jeff Speakman. I think I might have mentioned this magazine before, but because I was a big fan of rock music and a big fan of dance music in America. Why do they call dance music EDM? Because they could just call it dance music. Because people would know what they're on about unless they think, do they mean Glenn Miller? But this was a magazine that used to focus on dance music and rock music and rap music. But it was Select magazine. Got some great articles in. This one's got an article about the KLF and when local band Alternate, like Lotus Records. This is something as well. I think nowadays, because people put all the faith in the internet and they think, oh, if I just read a couple of lines on Twitter or Blabbermouth or Bloody Disgusting, I've got all the news I need. But this magazine, even though I only brought 4 issues of it, I've got them all memorised, because you know, when you read something on the internet, you read it for 5 seconds and put it down. Well, I've read these books for months and months and years, and I've remembered pretty much everything in them. But it was Fear magazine. Still remember to this day, there was a tiny half-a-page review for Jeff Behr's Leatherface, and it was saying it probably won't get released in the UK, and it didn't for decades. But because of the story description in that article, I pictured it so vividly in my mind about this car that had to be delivered and going through Texas and how gory the film would be. And to this day, I'm still a huge fan of that film and Jeff Behr, so thanks to Fear magazine for that. And like I say, been a big fan of hair metal for a long time, and thanks to this magazine I found out loads of information about it. Fireworks magazine, I'm pretty sure this magazine doesn't exist anymore. If it does, it's like about two issues a year, and you can't find it in paper shops. But as you can tell by the cover artist, Mr. Big, this is the kind of cool bands that do have in there. And I don't know why it's got Mr. Big there. It says Paul Gilbert at the top. That's like saying the same thing twice. And this is a great British magazine, still going to this day. Comes out every Wednesday. Remember, one issue, for whatever reason, didn't come out in the paper shops. And I went nearly every paper shop in my hometown, and I only found one paper shop that had got this random issue in that I couldn't get. But normally it's pretty consistent, and this was the very first issue I got. This is Kerrang there with old Lars and James on there. Beer good, Napster bad. If you know what I'm on about there. Bonus points.
James blew up for you. He ignited into a fiery inferno for you people.
Fire bad! Fire bad!
Our team of lawyers and researchers have your names, and we're going to hunt you down like the table scrap pilfering grab asses you are.
Grab asses bad!
So there's a little bit of a shout out to those guys. I always think about that because that was the first issue of Kerrang I got. I won't go through it one day and just mark off which bands are still going, and I can tell that was in my proper hardcore heavy metal phase, because nearly every page I go to I was like, oh, I bought that album, oh, I bought that single, oh, I went to that gig. But I brought loads of issues of Kerrang, but the flip side is I only ever got one issue of this, and like I say, because being a big fan of like party metal and bands that like having a good time, this magazine was imported from the imported from the UK, that'd be a bit pointless. Imported from the US, and it was amazing. Just was like, oh my god, Vince Neil's got an album, oh my god, this band. And still to this day, I don't think I've ever heard a song by this band. But this band, Spread Eagle, they just seem like the ultimate hair metal band. I have to get that album off eBay. I bet it's about £3 or something, or £3, depending on who's selling it. And over the years, I've got hundreds of these magazines, and I'd like to know if any of these were similar in other countries. But any local video shop would have one of these magazines, and this one here says Hollywood Movie Store at the top. But that little part at the top there would change depending on what video shop you went to. So if you went to like Video World or Video Park or Movie Time, it'd be the exact same magazine, but that little thing there would change. And talking about films that didn't get released in the UK, like Leatherface, can you believe this magazine's from 1999, celebrating the release of The Exorcist on video. That's Flintstones time I grew up in, and saved probably one of the best till last. This is advanced computer entertainment. Found out a lot of great information through this magazine over the years. And in the reviews, they'd have this thing called the predicted interest curve, where they would show you when you get bored of the game and stuff like that. And that was produced by Future Publishing, and they would end up using that in a magazine called Total Film, which is I don't know why that magazine wasn't on that list, but like I say, like to know what magazines you've got over the years, and if you've still got any, if the ones your favourite issues and things like that. Well, thanks for watching as always, and keep it locked.
Thanks for watching The Legends of Cherry Hill. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing.